Scott Storch was a certified hitmaker in the early 2000s.
You are a legend in music.
Do the rock away.
We made that track in 15 minutes. He loved it, he thought it was dope, and he left with the beat.
I sat in the studio and watched him make like $1 million selling beats, and he didn't move from behind the piano.
You're gonna bring back someone who was in the past to the future, you gotta show growth and elevation. So I put him in with all the young guys coming up.
Storch is in the building!
Our work propels the next work. So if I make something that's super fire, that's gonna propel the next thing to happen.
Come on, Leo, let's get it.
Hey, yo, it's DJ Khaled.
Hey, this is Kim Kardashian.
This is Mike Tyson.
Chuck the Iceman Liddell.
This is Martin Cove.
This is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you're watching Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame.
Before the Fame with Mike Sherman.
Mike Sherman, don't ever stop.
Hi everybody, welcome to Before the Fame, and I'm your host, Mike Sherman, in Hollywood, California. Tonight's show is on 8-time Grammy winner and music super producer, Scott Storch. Now Scott had an illustrious career. He had some highs and some lows.
It's still Dre Day, AK. Though I've grown a lot, can't keep it home a lot. Cause when I frequent the spots that I'm known.
Scott Storch was born on Long Island, New York. From a young age, he seemed destined for a career in music.
A lot of people know you as the piano man. How old were you when you first started playing the piano?
I taught myself how to play. We had a piece of furniture in the house, and somewhere around 10 years old, I gravitated towards it, and then I started setting up my cassette recorder that I had on the piano bench. I would play the songs and try and emulate these songs like I had a Motown greatest hits album, and I taught myself how to play My Girl and stuff like that.
Great track.
My girl, my girl, my girl, talking about my girl.
Yeah, like it was real simple stuff, and it just blossomed from there. And then I guess from digesting how to play all these songs and learning it, it kind of got me interested in composition. And you know, I had already set up the foundation by being able to play all this stuff and learning all the chords and understanding the art of songwriting.
She studying film and photo flash focus record.
In 1991, while living with his dad in Philly, he joined a local hip-hop band called The Roots at the young age of 17.
And you were even in the Roots for a little while.
Yeah, I'm a founding member of The Roots.
I mean, and Questlove, every time I see him, he always says Scott Storch will always be a Roots for the rest of his life. What was it like being in that band out of Philly? You know, it's such a legendary band.
Man, it was my first experience being catapulted into the real, actual music business, and you know, the record labels and everything. So that was my education right there, and that was essentially, you know, no pun, but that was my roots.
Still Snoop Dogg and D.I.
It wasn't too long after leaving The Roots that Scott produced one of rap's most iconic backing tracks.
And Dr. Dre came calling, he saw something in you. He said, this kid is super talented. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, you know, one of my friends from Philly randomly was in LA at the same time that I was. I was still struggling, you know, even though I had some records out, but you know, it takes a lot to really make it in this business. It takes more than a couple hits.
You told me that once before.
Yeah, so I was out here, I was doing an open mic session with The Roots as the house band, and I was playing keys, and I ran into Eve, who was a friend of mine from Philly. She signed a record deal to Dr. Dre. Nobody in Philly knew that, and when I was out there, she was like, I want to take you to meet Dr. Dre. So I didn't have any, you know, CDs or DAT tapes or anything to play of my music. All I had was my fingers, so he sat down at the piano with me, and in like 10 minutes, he was like, bro, wow, stay out here, and you know, I want you to work on this Chronic 2000 album with me. And my life changed.
Hit after hit followed.
Scott Storch, dog.
Between 1999 and 2006, Scott Storch's fingerprints were on no less than 200 Billboard Top 100 hits with some of the biggest names in music. Scott was the producer everyone wanted to work with.
The first person I worked with was Scott Storch. His beats were really different, didn't sound like anything else, and I wrote with him in ES. We did Naughty Girl first.
Dangerously in Love, Beyoncé!
Beyoncé, come on down!
This is my first record as a solo artist, and I want to thank everyone involved with making this record. Scott Storch, Rich Harrison, Jay-Z.
What's coming on for you in 07? Took a little hiatus for a little while. Obviously 05, you told me you had 87 hits in the top 20, and it was a ridiculous year. Chilled for a little bit. You're coming back strong now for the remainder of 07 and then going into 08?
Yeah, I'm taking it real serious. I just built a studio, and I'm working with a host of good artists.
Do the rock away. Now lean back. Lean back.
Some of these hits, like Lean Back with Fat Joe, who's a good friend of ours. I mean, that was
Joe is family.
Did you know that was going to be a banger when you wrote that track?
We sat in my house and made, you talking about Lean Back?
Yes.
We made that track in 15 minutes. He loved it, he thought it was dope, and he left with the beat. And then called me about 4 months later and said, Scott, we have a major hit on our hands.
Amazing.
And I heard it and I knew immediately.
Yo, Scott, boy, I tell you, man. Yo, Scott, man, I'm proud of you, man. I always say, let your darkest moments bring your most clarity.
Welcome back. You're watching Before the Fame, and I'm your host, Mike Sherman. Tonight's show is on superstar music producer Scott Storch. Scott Storch was a certified hitmaker in the early 2000s when he met a young and up-and-coming artist who would become his protege and future business partner. Illa, the producer, sat down with me to talk about his life working with Scott.
You and Scott have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
When did you and Scott first meet, and what was that all about?
We met in like 2007, 2008.
Long time ago.
Long time.
Way before the fame.
And I had just moved to Miami from Orlando, actually. And I was running around probably doing stuff I shouldn't be doing.
DJ Nasty.
Yep. Shout out Nasty, shout out Cali.
Uh-huh.
But
That's right, he's from Orlando too.
I remember I met Scott, and he changed my life because I sat in the studio and watched him make like $1 million selling beats, and he didn't move from behind the piano.
It's amazing.
And I'm like, man, I'm doing the wrong stuff, bro. I gotta learn what he's doing because he figured it out.
Well, let's talk about that. He was known for that when he moved to Miami, selling those beats to all these ghost riders and so forth.
Yeah.
How did he do that? What was his major ingredient that made that so successful?
Talent, like ridiculous God-given talent. I was seeing a lot of different producers. I met a bunch of them. And then when I met Scott, I noticed the separation.
Yeah.
Because Scott can just sit there.
He's here, the rest were here.
And everyone's grinding, right?
Right.
But he could just sit down in front of a piano and just make a hit like that.
Hurt you? Hey.
And it's not no team, no bunch of people, no guy in the second door behind door number 2. It's just him and that keyboard and cranking out hits for whoever walks in the room. Beyonce can come in the morning, Jay-Z can come at night, Fat Joe can come for lunch, and he can crank out hits for all 3 of them without breaking the sweat.
With every collaboration turning to gold, the money came rolling in. Scott was living the highlight.
And over here, we have the Mercedes McLaren SLR. I was one of the first people to have one of these.
Illa saw it all firsthand.
When Scott was making all those hits, he had the Bugattis, the Lambos, tons of Rolexes. Did the money kind of get to him a little bit? I mean, was it making it too fast, being too successful, too quick? I mean, did you see maybe, hey, you know what, it's gonna get to his head soon?
I think what happened was I don't think the money got to his head. It was
the success.
It was the success, but more than that, it was the people that come with that.
You
start with a good, yeah. In that entourage, there's poisonous people. There's people with good intentions, and then there's people who just have bad intentions. And over time, you can learn how to weed them out. But when everything's going so fast and everyone's in your face just showing you all that love, it's hard to decipher who's who. But over time, you got to see who was a bad influence and who's a good influence on you.
An out-of-control cocaine addiction sent Scott to rock bottom.
One thing was another.
I got into drugs because I was stupid, and I was following peer pressure and, watching, all these people in Miami, getting high and hanging out with girls and just falling into that trap, it destroyed my life. So, I had to get out of it, man. And very few are able to do it.
It was clear Scott needed help. Now, when Scott was at the bottom of his career, he needed some help. He needed it bad. And manager Steve Lobel, who managed some of the biggest names in music, came to his rescue and said Scott was his biggest project yet.
Thank God I had the luck to get with a really solid, amazing dude, Steve Lobel, who is my manager.
You came into Scott's life several years ago when he was at a very low end of his career. He went through some tough times through drugs, alcohol, financial problems, and you helped him resurrect his career to get back to where he is today. Tell me a little bit about that climb to the top.
Well, it's crazy because I never really did business with Scott Storch in the music business, and I've been in the music business over 30 years.
Steve Lobel reluctantly assumed the role of Scott's manager and took on the uphill battle of returning him to the top.
So the first year, it was rough. Everybody I called, because I have integrity, I was calling the A&Rs, managers, executives.
Nobody wanted to
and they were like, Steve,
this guy's a bad
he wasted our time. He took money from us. He was coked up.
Scott Storch was effectively persona non grata in the music industry, but Steve did not give up.
So I said, damn, what am I gonna do here? How am I gonna get this going? I happened to call up Monty Lipman. He's the president of Republic Universal, and he says, I want to see if I get Scott with Nicki Minaj. And he was like, maybe one day. He goes, but I'll tell you one thing, Steve, always a name, always a threat. Talent never leaves, and that stayed in my mind.
The task was clear. Scott Storch would need to be repackaged if he was ever to be successful again. What made you think that Scott wasn't going to relapse and go back to the old Scott Storch working with you? It was a big risk.
Me being around him, I wasn't going to go for it. I would have knocked him out.
You don't do drugs.
I never did.
You've been a clean guy as far as I know you at least 15, 20 years. So you've always been a clean, person. How did you make sure that he stayed on the straight and narrow?
I mean, I was a drill sergeant. I just stayed on top of him, and I told him, you get crazy, I'll knock you out. And he always says, I wish I had you back then, back in the day. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason, and people come into your life in different times.
His reputation and his word meant a lot, carried a lot of weight. To doors that have been closed, they opened a little bit for me. They let me take a peek inside, and sure enough, his word stood true.
Real simple.
So I'm at lunch with WAC 100. He's games manager. I said, yo, WAC, I manage Scott. Let's get him in. He goes, man, Scott wasted my time last year in Miami. He had us sit in the studio. I said, do me a favor, just do it for me. And sure enough, the next day, Game pulled up at Scott's house. And we did a record called All Eyes with Jeremiah, and the record went gold. It reinvented Game. It got radio. Alan Grumler, the E1, was like, wow. And that was our first placement. And that was after a year and a half.
Of working with Scott?
Yeah. Because, it wasn't easy.
It was a process.
And, Scott's a stuck in the ways type of stubborn guy. So am I. So we butt heads a lot. But then I figured out, I'm just going to be me. And whoever you had around in the past, I'm not them, and I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear.
We call ourselves the Jew Crew, 3-6. What do you call us?
Two Live Jew.
Two Live Jew Crew.
And I had to school him and let him know that the sonics changed, that the money's not the same, and he knew, because he was gone for 9 years. You get addicted to drugs, you lose everything.
A big part of his comeback, Scott credits the THC from cannabis for helping him kick his cocaine addiction.
And we worship the sun.
And he believes it can help other addicts as well.
Today, we officially open the Heavenly Center.
I'm doing a rehab center right now called the Heavenly Center, where I'm rehabbing people, from harmful substances using cannabis.
To everybody who helped us put this together, building this place, putting everything together, and one of my partners, Scott Storch, Nick, to everybody, thank you so much, and we are officially open. Woo!
THC, the Heavenly Center. Yeah, so.
Which is a huge thing today for people that need to rehab. I mean, cannabis can help.
Yeah, well, I know that it works because it works for me. The way a conventional NA rehabilitation center tells you can't smoke marijuana, and they'd rather prescribe you to really harmful things I feel like keep you addicted into heavy drugs and narcotics and keep you coming back. So, I feel like that's outdated, and using cannabis worked for me, and I want to, pass that on to others. And it's not like a bunch of people are going to be sitting around just smoking weed. Like, it's about recovery, but we allow the use of cannabis, when people aren't in therapy.
Yo, Burner, thanks for bringing the vibes.
Scott Storch is in the building.
There was also Steve Lobel's strategy of pairing Scott with new, aspiring talent.
Now, you're one of the most sought-out producers in music. Your Instagram page is close to 2 million followers now?
Something like that, a little less than.
And you're getting this millennial Generation Z audience that really didn't even know these tracks 10, 15 years ago that are all coming to you. Could you help me with the track? How does it make you feel that you are still relevant in today's music world and you're still getting reached out by all these young kids, 15, 16, 17 years old?
Well, part of the reason why that happened is because Steve Lobel, my manager.
Steve, I love you.
When I got back into being a human being again and not a drug addict, I had to penetrate the music business again. And he told me that the approach, because I was like, yo, get me with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
He's like, Scott, chill.
He's like, chill. The way that we're gonna get respect is by growing with new artists, young talent,
organically,
and be responsible for catapulting them, and then you get the Heisman Trophy.
He was like, yo, call Jay-Z, call Beyonce. I want to work with all the A-list. And I was like, buddy, they're not going to work with you. So we're not going to go and work with the legends. You already did that. Let's leave the past behind.
Let's get the up-and-comers.
We're going to work with all the new artists.
Got it.
And that's what I did.
It's got me hypnotized and it's my size, big size.
My mentality was like, you're going to bring back someone who was in the past to the future. You got to show growth and elevation. So I put him in with all the young guys coming up.
Down below, down below.
Illa, like Steve, never stop believing.
Scott had a little something in the tank that you saw something still burning with him.
The guys who are super talented, like I always said that about Scott, like he'll be fine because he could always sit in front of that keyboard or that piano and make a hit. You live and you learn. And the more trials and tribulation you go through, the stronger man you are.
We're really bros. It's funny, like we talk about egg creams, we talk about milkshakes, we talk about cupcakes, we talk about Dan Tana's Italian restaurant and pizza.
Oh, he loves Dan Tana.
This is what we talk about.
He's always at Dan Tana's.
That's what we talk about, bro.
Yeah.
And I ask him every day, you love yourself? Are you happy with yourself? That's how I talk to him.
He seems like a different person.
But that's how I talk to him. Like, no one's ever talked to him like that.
Just two white guys who are Jewish from the East Coast in the hip-hop business. So, we're just working, man.
Come on, Leo, let's get it.
Wow, Scott Storch he still got it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Our work propels the next work. So if I make something that's super fire and it really, strikes attention from, the world, that's gonna propel the next thing to happen. So if you don't put out hot shit, you're not gonna get any more hot shit.
That word super fire is the key word here. Do you know when you write a track, that's super fire, that's gonna be a hit?
It's very tricky these days. I feel like at one moment in time,
you could predict it.
I could predict it, but there's things that, yes, I can predict and know, yeah, they're definitely a hit. But there's things that maybe I don't think are a hit that I do, and they become hits. So, Anybody that would stand before you and tell you that everything they make is 100% fire, they'd be lying.
Scott, I want to thank you so much for your time. And your career resurrection has been nothing less than remarkable. Congratulations and well done. Well, guys, that's our show for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. But tune in for next week's show, where once again we go down memory lane for some of the biggest names in sports, music, and entertainment, all before the fame. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mike Sherman. Thanks for watching.